Dear registrants, we welcome you to the third session of the first day of FDP. Now I would like to welcome Suman Gowda. Is working as Senior Product Specialist in Capricorn Technologies Private Limited, Bangalore. He holds BE in Mechanical Engineering and Master's degree in Printing Technology from University of Chemnitz, Germany. He has a vast experience in 3D printing field and has worked on various additive technologies like FDM, SLA, SLS, PolyJet, DLP, LCD, and metal technologies. He has worked closely with several automotive and aerospace customers to implement additive technology successfully in their organization, and also he has been successful in guiding several educational institutes in the field of 3D printing. He has done a project in Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore on UAV design and tool development. He has also done his master's project in collaboration with German company on complete analysis of FDM technology and FDM materials. So we welcome you, sir, and I hope your knowledge will be helpful to all our participants.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you can take on the session, sir.
So I would just like to cross-check whether my audio and my screen both are audible. So, and my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Your audio and the presentation both are fine.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so in today's session, like as the name suggests, it's based on extrusion-based 3D printing. So I believe in the beginning of the session, maybe at around 10 o'clock, Professor Srikanth had given an introduction related to 3D printers and different processes. So extrusion-based 3D printer is just one of the technology in the complete portfolio of the 3D printing industry. So in today's session, I will just take you through the major advantages and the major applications in which this technology is being used for, and how all the industries are currently adopting to this technology, and why this technology is playing a very major role in the development of their products in all the industries. So beginning with the schedule, so I'd like to say, like, for the activities for today, for the first few minutes, I would like to share my inputs on like Industry 4.0 topic and how 3D printing is playing a major role for that. And then later on, we discuss about the extrusion process, and then some of the unique features of extrusion process. And later on, we'll go to the main agenda, which is the industrial case studies. So we'll try to relate how closely that 3D printing is helping the industry to manufacture the parts faster at a much lesser cost, and how it is benefiting to their organization. So Industry 4.0 is something which we have all been listening about, which we have all been talking about, which is completely revolutionizing all the industries. So when you're talking about Industry 4.0, we would just like to go back some few hundred years and see how actually it all started. So in the beginning, as you know, in the first industrial revolution, where water and steam power were considered as the major power sources. And then later on, by the invention of electricity, so the second industrial revolution played a very major role in development of the automation, where a complete automation setup was set up. And then in the third industrial revolution, after the computers were developed, the programming was done. So everything was getting programmable. So there was no need for an individual person or individual organization to undergo each and every process. So a program was well enough to do the agenda. Simple example would be a calculator. So before the arrival of the calculator, we all know that how difficult it was to do even sum of 2 to 3 numbers. But now, after the implementation of calculator, it has become much more simpler. So similar ways, so after the third industrial revolution, where the programmable played a very major role, in the fourth industrial revolution, we are talking something about where a machine can speak with the machine on its own, so that it will completely eliminate the use of human needs. So how is it going to help? How 3D printing playing a major role in this Industry 4.0? So just to give you an overview, like Industry 4.0 has somewhere around more than 10 different aspects which are related together, which combines together to form a very good process. Now, for example, if you are talking about 3D printing, so 3D printing is one of the agenda in this complete portfolio, where some of the major things are like IoT platforms, smart sensors, authentication. So 3D printing is also playing a very important and a very major role in this Industry 4.0. So when we're talking about what kind of major role it's going to play, so now there was a study which was done from almost like more than 10,000 different industries were considered for the study purpose. And then when they were asked, like, what is the first thing that they would like to implement in their organization? So as expected, smart sensors or the connected sensors was the first option. Of course, connected sensors is something like which is very much essential for each and every organization. So it might be either regarding for the authentication, or it might be for the entry, or it might even be for the attendance register, where our thumbprint gets scanned. So all these processes are something related to a connected sensors. And then 3D printing came in the second position, where almost 37% of the industries have told that they would like to implement 3D printing in their organization. And why is that required? So maybe by the end of the session, we will be able to figure out what might be the importance or what might be the process in which 3D printing is playing an important or a very major role. So when we're talking about the industry sector, so industry sector can be segmented roughly into like around 10 different segments. So where automotive, aerospace, consumer goods, architectures are playing a very major role. So in those segments, when we see aerospace, automotive, and consumer goods, every company has got equal share of more than 15%. So when you are talking about any applications, we will normally not see such kind of scales, because what we usually observe is some of the industries will be having the scale more than 50%, and some of the industries will be having the usage less than 10%. Whereas over here, if you can closely observe, the medical or the dental has around 14%, aerospace has around 15% applications, or automotive has around 16%, consumer products has about 18%. So each and every industry needs 3D printing, or each and every industry is adopting to 3D printers. So 3D printing is playing a very major role in all the segments, even including the healthcare segment, which we come to later on. So if we talk about the targeted or the expected portfolio in which the industry is going to grow, so it's expected that aerospace and healthcare industries are going to have a major impact with the help of this 3D printing. And why is that? The reason would be 3D printers are the first and the only option which these industries can use for developing of their products at a much simpler, at a much faster rate. And then later on, automotive, industrial, or the other segment comes in. So now, where exactly is the education industry going to play a major role? So in case of education industries, it's very critical for us to know that how 3D printers are used in the industries, so that we can train ourselves and we can train our students to make sure that when they go to the industries, or once they go out from engineering colleges, they are ready for these challenges. So that this is one of the hidden platform where there is a huge opportunity for every students to get into. So if a student can make use of this technology, so that it will be a very huge benefit for him as soon as he goes to any industry, because every industry is looking for a person who is trained on 3D printers and how they can implement 3D printing, which is related to their business plan or maybe their product line. So what exactly do we mean is that, like, for example, in the current scenario, if we consider manufacturing of any product, or if we just consider an example where you require some product, let's say that you require some water bottle or you require a shoe, so that you can go into any market or you can go into any store and buy it and come back to home. But what was the original process? That product was manufactured somewhere else. The product was shipped from one place to another place, and then from that location the product was transported to a warehouse, and then from that warehouse it was transported to the local store, and then from the local store we buy it. Now just imagine if we can eliminate all the middle process, which means that a person who wants something can actually manufacture it on its the same product on its own. So this is where companies like aerospace and healthcare are getting a very huge benefit out of it. The reason being, in case of aerospace segment, if somebody wants their product, the main Airbus, let's consider, if Airbus is manufacturing a product, the parts are manufactured throughout the world. And then it might be from India, it might be from Germany, it might be from US, all the parts has to reach one location. So now the difficulties what they'll be facing is transportation will be a major challenge. And if we consider this recent situation, like for example, during the lockdown stage, so where face shield and face masks were very huge trending topics for 3D printing. Like each and every person who has a 3D printer with them came up with an idea of like 3D printing of face shields or 3D printing of face masks so that they can print it and give it to their neighbors, or they can print it and give it to their surroundings. So this is the topic where we are discussing where a user can become even the manufacturer. So we do not have to depend upon the complete manufacturing cycle where the product has to come from the main facility to you, where it has to pass through all the different cycles. It can directly be in such a situation where the person who wants a product can actually manufacture it on by himself. So what this is going to do is like, now let's imagine we want a particular kind of shoe. Now let's say we want a shoe brand which is of exactly to our shape of our leg, exactly to our fittings. So it's not possible for us to get a custom made shoe for an affordable price range. So now with the help of 3D printing, what we can usually do is like there are technologies available where we can directly 3D print the shoes which is as per my requirement. And then once I have done 3D printing of my shoes, I can contact my neighbors, I can contact my fellow mates, and I can also give them. So this will become an internal cycle where every person can afford and every person can get the products with a very close proximity, and they don't have to worry about the global manufacturing sectors. Everything they want to be manufactured or every product they want to get can be available only within their surroundings. So this is the main agenda which in 3D printing is talking about in the Industry 4.0 segment. Of course, it might take a very long time, maybe some 10 years or maybe even some more 20 more years, but this is the kind of agenda which 3D printing is actually coming up with. Now, if we talk about why, means what all products can it do, why is it so much required? So here is one example which was actually shared by NASA, where along with their space station, they had actually sent few humans to space. So along with them, they had also sent a small 3D printer so that in case, suppose when they were in space, suppose if they wanted any kind of like mechanical tools or if they wanted any kind of equipment, so they don't have to worry or they don't have to wait for too much longer time. So the time that a rocket from the Earth actually goes to space and then they get those materials over there. So it is very affordable for them to carry a 3D printer with them, and then they can actually 3D print their own parts. So now this was one of the experiment which was done in a particular conditions applied. But just imagine the fact that they can carry just a 3D printer with them, and then maybe it's after some 1 year or for some 2 years, if they want any kind of equipment for them, they don't have to wait for the replacement to come from the Earth. They can easily replace it. So this was one such example which was shared from NASA. So similarly, now we have 3D printers that are available, that are placed on submarines, that are placed on naval yards, so that they don't have to wait for any replacement for a very longer time, especially in case of oil and gas industry where the tools and the gears are getting damaged at a very regular frequency. So with the help of 3D printer, they can 3D print it, they can attach it to their main equipment so that they can run the entire equipment till the replacement arrives. So they don't have to wait or they don't have to keep the entire machine shut down for 1 or 2 weeks. Instead, for this 1 or 2 weeks, they can use 3D printers for doing the job by the time the main part actually arrives. So if you're talking about applications or different things, so Adidas actually have 3D printed a shoe in which is completely made out of 3D printers. Or we can actually like 3D print our own specs or maybe goggles as per the shape required, or we can 3D print even chocolates or even food items. Like for example, Bareilles 3D printed 3D printing pasta. So all these like, of course, it follows the extrusion process. So, but the program or the process is completely different to what actually is used for plastic 3D printing. This kind of equipment requires a complete, like I would say, customized equipment, like a customized extrusion printer for printing of this chocolate mug or printing of this pasta. So it's not a direct solution, but the industry has already been implementing all these things, and all these things are also already possible. So if we have to give an example related to the industry basis, in case of like aerospace, we have got an applications where almost a 10 feet Airbus flight is completely scaled down and 3D printed, and then they have also done few testings on top of it. And based on that, it can also be for the four-wheeler vehicles, where a complete car is 3D printed, and then they can see the wind tunnel testing, they can see the analysis of that, or maybe a small drone segment, or maybe even a 3D printed bicycle. 3D printed bicycle, these 3D printed bicycles will be strong enough so that it can directly be used for the end applications. Which means that if somebody wants a customized cycle where they are going to, let's say they're going to invest around like 2 to 3 lakhs for getting a very high-end cycle, in the same price they can actually 3D print their own bicycle. So at a much better design as per their requirement. Or maybe even a skateboard. So all these are just some basic examples which I'm sharing, so that once we go to the main topic, you will be very clear about what 3D printing is actually capable of and what extrusion-based 3D printer currently is going to do. So all these are completely related to aerospace and automotive industries. Similarly, like if you're talking about healthcare segment, where 3D printed prosthetic legs, prosthetic arms, so, or maybe in a case where if there's any kind of fracture, so we don't have to wait about to do the regular traditional process of like plaster of Paris is being applied. So that now it's a process where a 3D printed sheet can directly be printed, and then it will be as per our customized setting, so that we don't have to worry about like all the kinds of dirt. And this will be even like a replaceable basis. So in case of emergency, we can easily replace it, or we can easily remove it, so that we can put it on as whenever it's required. Or it might be like complete prosthetic arms for people who have got some kind of like disabilities, or maybe even for the robots which they are building, or directly in case of like human implantation, where of course this is an extrusion where we are talking about titanium material. But a titanium material, as we know that it's one of the best material which can be used for inside a human body. So that's one of such material which can directly be implanted. Or it might be in case of like architecture industries where we are talking about. So here I want to show about two different case studies. Like one is, now let's imagine like, suppose as an architecture, like we have done some 2D modeling, and then the 2D modeling we have 3D printed. So what you see on the screen right now is actually a 3D printed model. But just imagine, but what you're seeing below is a 3D printed house. And of course, if you want a printer which can directly 3D print houses for you, no, it's not readily available in the market. But there are few companies who are doing their research, who are taking up projects, something like this, where they're actually constructing houses out of 3D printers. Means it's an extrusion-based process. We cannot call it as a 3D printer, but it's an extrusion process in which the required equipment like the sand, cement, and also some kind of clay are mixed together, and then they are extruded through tubes. So now the second image, what you see in the bottom, the entire time required for building of this house was like around 24 hours. So now, of course, like if you have all the facilities set up, and if you go to build a house, so it will take us a longer time, because we have to consider the factors of curing has to be considered. So all the other agendas have to be considered. But when you're talking about 3D printers, utilizing 3D printers to developing of such an house, so the entire house was constructed within 24 hours. The same way, we're talking about a bridge. This bridge was like completely 3D printed in a span of like less than 3 days. Or of course, like 3D printing can also be used for like analysis and visualization. So in brief, we are talking about a technology in which it has got no boundaries. It can be used by every industries and every individuals. Either it might be from the consumer goods, or it might be for the food and chocolate, or it might be for industry which is related to automotive or related to aerospace, or it might be for industry related to architectures, or it might be related to healthcare. So we don't have any particular segments for this technology. So of course, like when we are discussing only about automotive industries, then we consider automotive industries has got more applications compared to others. But the moment we come to healthcare or medical segments, so then we come to a realization that healthcare has got major applications in 3D printing compared to any other industries. So similarly, in case of architecture, or maybe in case of healthcare, so 3D printers, because of the vast varieties of technologies, maybe in the few slides on we will just discuss. So now if we are just talking about like how are we going to bridge the industry and academia? Like, of course, industry learning is something related to the business plan, is something related to manufacturing of entire product, but how will it benefit from the education segments or from the academia segments? So now if you consider from the industry point, so now what industry prefers or what industry requires is business must embrace technological advances to improve productivity, compete against rivals, and maintain an edge with customers. So industry requirement is very simple. They want each and every employee to come up with such an areas where they are ready for the competitions, where they know the recent updates of the industries, where they know how they can implement the recent technologies in their organization so that it will make their industry grow at a faster rate. In the same way, what as a university, what we must do is we must adopt to new technologies, which students then bring into the workforce, which gives them a competitive edge. So in both the segments, what we are calculated is either from the industry point or from the educational point. We should always be ready for the competition, and we should be ready for the changes that is happening. One simple situation which you can say, like companies are having difficult time finding candidates with right skills. In the same way, graduates with 3D printing experience are more attractive to employers. And why is that? Because apart from knowing the designing skills, or apart from knowing the strategic planning skills, or maybe whichever segment they're planning to procure or like grow their future in, but with the help of 3D printers, what they'll be able to implement is they'll be able to relate the business with their 3D printers portfolio. The same way, universities offering this technology would be more attractive even to students, because nowadays students are like very much equipped or very much knowledgeable about this technology. So that now recently from the last 2 years, more than 20 to 30 universities have started 3D printing as their individual courses in master's program. So now this is just giving us a sign that 3D, there are students who are very much interested in this topic, and there are universities who are willing to open up these courses only on particular subjects. Means when you're talking about 3D printing, they're just concentrating only on one topic. It might be like a metal 3D printers, or sometimes they're concentrating only on binder jets. So it is now even becoming more specific in terms of, and the main reason would be that there might be a few companies who are sponsoring those universities, and they would require only those technologies, so that once the students are graduated from that particular course, it will be beneficial for them to hire that same students into their organization. So this is a kind of tie-up with many organizations are doing up with the colleges. So 3D printing is playing a very major role. And why? Because when we are talking about 3D printing, the other way of manufacturing is the subtractive manufacturing, which is the conventional prototype, which is lathe, milling, grinding, drilling. So these are the general processes. These are the general processes which are used from a very long time, maybe from last 100 years. This is the way how the parts are manufactured. But in case of 3D, we're trying to change it a little bit. In terms of subtractive manufacturing, where the part is removed, the unwanted part is removed. In case of 3D printing, what we are trying to do is like we are going to build layer upon layer. So here, the way the part is manufactured is completely different. So this example is especially for the extrusion-based process, where each line will be drawn, just like you can imagine an example of a paste, where as soon as you squeeze the toothpaste, a little bit of paste comes out. The harder you squeeze, the more amount of paste comes out. So it will be on the same process. And since we are adding one layer upon the other, we call it as additive manufacturing. So if you are talking about the manufacturing process, the actual name for this technology is additive manufacturing. So just for us to simplify the name terms, or just to use it as a common name, we are calling it as 3D printing. But the actual name for this technology, we could say that it's called as additive manufacturing. manufacturing. So, of course, if we are talking about the basic differences between these two technologies, would be like in subtractive manufacturing, we would be using materials like complete bulk or a complete block of material where we'll be doing some kind of machining and removing all the excess material. But in general, we can say that in terms of subtractive manufacturing, 70% of the material will go for wastage. In case of additive manufacturing, we can say that less than 10% of the material will go for wastage. So this is one term in which we are going to save a lot of material, which in terms implies that we are going to save even on the material cost. And then when you're talking about the time, so in terms of subtractive manufacturing, the time required might be in terms of 2 to 3 weeks or sometimes even in months. In case of 3D, we are talking about a fact where we can develop a part in a span of like 3 to 4 hours. So I believe like we saw one of the example like the shoe which was manufactured from Adidas and with collaboration with one of the technologies. So where in traditional process, it would have taken them almost close to somewhere around like 2 to 3 months. But in case of 3D printing, they were able to do it in the span of within 2 days. So now we're talking about a difference of 2 months in the regular process and 2 days in terms of 3D printers. Of course, like when we are going for development in few thousands or in few lakhs, then the better way to choose was the traditional process. But when you're talking about customizable shoes or a shoes which is as per the requirement of the customers, then the number of requirement would be like less than 2 quantities or less than 1 quantity. So now 3D printing is becoming the only option for such applications. So here is one few advances, like in the left you can see how the traditional process is going to work, where it's going to remove the excess material. In the right you can see a 3D printing operating. So there won't be any kind of wastage or there won't be requirement of any tool changes that has to be done frequently. So once you start the printer, you can just go home, come back after the required amount of time, and then the part will be ready. So this is the kind of user-friendly nature that a 3D printing provides, so that we can actually implement 3D printers in all the organizations. Because if somebody has to operate a CNC machining or a lathe machining, he has to be completely skilled, and we cannot leave the equipment unattended. Somebody has to stay near the equipment for a very long time. It might be for 3 hours, or maybe for 6 hours, or sometimes even for 12 hours, where we have to do it in some night shifts, or a second person will have to take over. And after some particular amount of programming is done, so we'll have to do the tool changes. And also, even before starting the programming, we should be well aware of the G code generation. So all these things are required when we are talking about traditional process. But in case of 3D, it eliminates all these things. All it requires is around like less than 5 minutes of your work time after your designing is done, and then you just feed the program to a printer, and then you can go home. Of course, now there are printers which are available in such a way that it also has got camera inbuilt, and that camera can be connected with your mobile app, so that even if you are in home and the printer is operating, you can just see what is the status of the printers. So, and then you can even monitor the print. Like for example, if you feel like the print has to be stopped or the print has to be paused, so you can even do it from your home location. So you don't even have to come near the printer. So these kinds of user-friendly things are making this technology grow at a much faster rate. And what it's going to do is like it's going to bring a lot of our ideas to life. So now, as a student, if he's developing of any project, or maybe as a designer, if they are coming up with any new products. Now let's imagine the same example of a shoe where they wanted to launch into the market. So before launching into the market, if they want to wait for 2 months, in order to see how the part looks like, it would have not made a major impact for them. Maybe by that time, someone else or some competitors would have developed something similar. But now, since they were able to develop the product within some 1 or 2 days, so what they were able to do was like they were able to design some 10 different designs, come up with the most better looking design, and then launch that into the market. So that once the market accepts it, they can go for the actual processing or actual production. And suppose if the market rejects that process, they don't have to go for the production of that particular product. So in terms, what they would have lost was like 1 or 2 weeks of time and maybe few $1000s. But instead, if they had gone for the traditional way and then failed, it would have costed them very huge amount. So 2D to 3D, it's like the workflow. Now, if you're talking about a 3D printing workflow, so the first step for 3D printing would be a 3D CAD model. So you as an individual or maybe as a group would have designed something, would have designed a CAD model using any of the softwares. So it might be even like Inventor software or SolidWorks software or CATIA software. And once you have designed a 3D CAD model, that 3D CAD model is the input for 3D printing. So that 3D CAD model is converted into a particular format, and then the particular format is sent into 3D printer. So what's going to happen is now, for example, once the CAD model is ready, that CAD model will be fed into a slicing software. So there are numerous versions of slicing software. So there are some freehand slicing software. There are some softwares which are completely dedicated for particular printers. So that 3D CAD model will be imported into a slicing software. And then in the slicing software, we will have to do some pre-processing things. So in case of 3D printing, we will have to see what is the orientation that is required and what is the size that is going to be required for printing. So we have to do some few selections. So in general, I would say, like, for example, when we are doing 2D printing, we just give Control P and we print a part. But sometimes we also cross-check, like whether we need a single side print or dual side print, or whether we need in landscape or portrait mode. So we are going to cross-check some 4 to 5 settings. So similarly, in case of 3D printing, we are going to cross-check some few settings just to make sure that whatever the CAD model that we want to print comes up as per our requirement. So once the CAD model is imported to the slicing software is going to be sliced into different layers. So as I said, it's a process of additive manufacturing. So now let's imagine a simple water bottle. So simple water bottle, which is of like half a liter water bottle, will be sliced into somewhere around 200 different slices. And the thickness of each slice will be as thin as 0.2 mm or even like 0.1 mm. So that slicing, it will be printed one layer upon another. So maybe after we see some few videos, you will be able to get clear idea regarding that. So when we're talking about 3D printing and its technologies, so there are 6 major technologies. So there are few technologies which uses of plastics, there are few technologies which uses of liquid resins, and there are technologies which even uses metals. So just by naming process, the technology name can be called as FDM, which is fused deposition modeling, or we can also call it as like stereolithography process, where we are going to use liquid resin, or we also have like selective laser sintering, where we are going to use powder based materials, or we can even use metal jetting or even binder jetting or DMLS. So I'm pretty sure like in the next 4 days, you are having various different dignitaries giving sessions on different topics. So where all these topics will be covered. So in these sessions, when you're concentrating on metal extrusion process, material extrusion, so we're talking about the extrusion process. It's just a technology where this particular technology, this is how the model is going to function. So in the next few slides, we are going to get to know exactly what this extrusion process is. But for this extrusion process, we call it by the name called as FDM, which is fused deposition modeling. And of course, fused deposition modeling was the name it was developed from statisticians from 30 years ago when they invented this technology. In the meantime, because of the patent rights and because of all the other aspects, so many companies have named this technology in different terms. Some people call it FFF, some people call it LPD, some people call it like LAP. So the names of this have changed, but when you're talking about the process, it will be like an extrusion process. So here in extrusion process, the main materials that we are going to use are plastic related materials. So the plastics might be standard basic plastics, or it might be some plastics which are like engineering grade plastics, or it might also be plastics which are completely on high performance plastics. And of course, like maybe few slides before, I had showed that you can also 3D print chocolates, you can 3D print houses, you can 3D print medical parts. So, but even though they follow extrusion process, we do not have a particular equipment, or we do not have a particular printers that are readily available for them. Those are all still in the experimental stages, where few companies have customized the same FDM printers as per their requirement. In case of medical, if we consider, we are talking about injection. It's a process is similar to that of an injection. So just like how the injection is being pressed and how the material comes out from the needle, it's the same process. But instead of using a liquid, in case of bioprint, we call it as bioprinting process, where we actually use human cells. The human cells are cultivated, and then the human cells are printed in the required area, and then they are processed for the further things. In case of 3D printing of houses, all the mixtures that are required for building of a house is mixed together, and then it is extruded as a paste coming out from a toothpaste tube. So in this session, we will concentrate only on 3D printing of plastic materials, because an extrusion process, if you call it as FDM, will make like true justice only when we are talking about a particular segments of material, which can be like simple plastics which we use in our day-to-day life. It might be like a water bottle which is of PP material, or it might be of some plastic materials which are being used in our regular usage, like switchboards or like any desktop covers, like ABS material, which all comes under the standard polymer category. If you go to one category higher, which is in engineering grade plastics, which is concentrated to nylon grade materials, or even materials like polycarbonate, or even materials like rubber kind materials. And if you go to the higher grade materials, where you're talking about the materials which can withstand, plastic materials which can withstand up to 200 degrees temperature, plastic materials which can be used for applications in space, plastic materials which can be used for chemical applications. So when we go to the industry related topics, I'll be able to showcase few of the applications where 3D printers are being used in the automotive, aerospace, fixture industries. So coming to the main topic of the day, which is the extrusion process. So since extrusion process is just an overall general name, so FDM is the main name which we consider for this technology. So FDM stands for fuse deposition modeling, where the material is being fused and then it's deposited. So the working principle I will discuss later on. But if we just look at the common agenda, we can consider an example of a candle. So once we light up the candle, we all know that the wax melts, and then the melted wax will be in the form of a molten liquid, and then it actually drops. It actually drops sometimes on the floor, or sometimes it actually hangs on the sides of the candle. But as soon as it drops, now let's imagine a case the candle is being melted and it drops from the candle to the floor. But as soon as it drops on the floor, it comes back to its normal wax condition. It means it comes back to a very hard wax. So now this extrusion based printer is almost in a similar process. So now if you can consider, this is actually a plastic wire. This plastic wire is drawn into this, if you can see the golden yellow color, right? So this is a portion where actually the heating takes place. So the plastic wire, which is in a very hard condition, as soon as it comes to this location, becomes very molten liquid. And this molten liquid is being deposited in the required direction. So just to get more overview regarding this process, now let's consider an example where a plastic wire is being inserted into a nozzle tube. So inside this nozzle tube, we have a very hot temperature. The temperature would be somewhere around 250 degrees. So as soon as the material comes to this position, it gets heated, and then the material will become a molten liquid, like a molten paste. So the hard plastic which comes from the top, by the moment it comes in the bottom, it will be like very soft plastic, and then that plastic is deposited in the required direction. And as soon as it is deposited, within few fraction of seconds, it once again gets dry. So as it gets dry, it comes back to its original plastic condition. So the time when it got deposited will make sure that it has got a very strong bonding between the top layer and the bottom layer. The process would be something like this. Now, the material in the top would be something like this, where it comes to the tip, and then there will be two rollers which actually guides the material inside. And you can see this gold and yellow. This is actually the heater. So this heater makes sure that the temperature here is maintained about 200 degrees based on the material which we are using. So as soon as the plastic material comes to this position, it becomes a liquid plastic, like a molten plastic. And then that molten plastic comes out from this tip as a very, like I would say, as a molten liquid. And then that molten liquid is being deposited in the required direction. And as it gets deposited within few fraction of seconds, it gets dry. So this will be one of the other example, like in reality, like the reality will be something like the material comes in over here, the roller actually rotates and pushes the material inside. The heating takes place in this position. The material comes out from this tip. So the complete extrusion process principle works on the same agenda, where the material is being inserted from one end, it gets heated, and then it comes out from the other end as a molten liquid. And the area where the material has to be deposited is completely dependable on the way the programming is done or way the model is constructed. So now, for example, if you're talking about a CAD model and we have designed some water bottle, so there will be a circular shapes. And if you have designed some kind of other equipment, so the model deposition will be in that particular direction. So we have a small video related to like how this entire process will work. So here we are actually like 3D printing a small tire. So this is, let's imagine this is tire of one of the automotive vehicle. So here the part which is getting printed is of a single extrusion process. So we'll come to that stage later. So here, as we saw, the X and Y axis movement will happen based on the nozzle movement. And as soon as the first layer is completed, the bed moves down a little bit, and then the second layer will be printed on top of it. Of course, here there are many alterations that are being done. Like for example, some cases the bed remains constant. So once the first layer is printed, the nozzle itself goes a little bit higher to print the second layer. So, but the overall principle would be that it follows the same principle. The material comes in from one end, it gets heated, and then it comes from the bottom as a heated nozzle. So if you are going to see the timeline view, like for example, how actually if you're going to print a larger volume, how it's going to get constructed. So now we are trying to 3D print a skyline view of a New York Brooklyn city. So now you can also see the time frame, like how much time is required for printing of such a part. So we are talking about like 3D printing of a entire skyline within a span of like less than 10 hours. It means that we have given print at maybe at midnight or late evening. We come back tomorrow morning, the part will be completely ready. So now if you're just looking at this image or looking at this 3D CAD model, so of course, like this is one of the model which is related to architectural frame. So now if we relate it to other industries, it might be aerospace, automotive, healthcare segment, or any other segment. So now the time frame or the efforts that was required to manufacture a part something like this traditionally or through the same process which we are following from last 30-40 years, it would have not been so simple. We had to contact more than 10 to 15 guys. We had to do a lot of paperwork. We had to write a lot of mails. We had to do a lot of explanation to what has to be done. So now this is where industries are getting utilization for 3D printers. So now sometimes, especially in aerospace industries, the paperwork takes almost close to like 2 to 3 weeks just to even get a small sanction or to just go ahead for manufacturing of any equipment. So now in those cases, if any designer is coming up with any new ideas and they want to implement that ideas into their organization, so it will not be possible for them to just manufacture those equipments or manufacture those prototypes and bring it to the market or bring it to their organization for discussion stage. All they will have to do is like they will have to discuss everything on a screen. Whatever they have designed in the CAD model, they have to just showcase the same screen on the projector and then just be discussed. But instead, if they have a CAD model, if they have a physical model with them, the explanation becomes much easier, and then they can actually use it for even for the end applications like fitment checking. So in today's industry cases, we will discuss mostly on how these 3D printed parts are being used for their end application requirements. So what we saw over here was a single extrusion process, but we also have something called as dual extrusion. Dual extrusion is something like instead of one nozzle, we have got two nozzles in a printer. The process remains same. As soon as the material comes to this position, it gets heated inside and then the molten liquid comes down and then it gets deposited in the required direction. But here the main thing that we'll have to consider is not all the parts are very simple. There are a few complex geometrical parts in which there has to be some support. Now let's consider the same example. So here there is a dark blue material and a light blue material. So this dark blue material is actually the required part, but this light blue is actually the support material. It is similar to during constructing of our houses. So if we have to do any overhangings or if we have to do the top mold, we give support from the bottom. So after a few days, we remove the support whatever we have given, and then the top mold or the top overhanging gets completely in our required shape. In the similar way, during the printing process, since the material coming out will be of a molten liquid, we cannot 3D print in air. So what we are going to do is like we are going to give support from the bottom just to make sure that the model material gets the required shape. And once the entire model is printed, we just take this part and dip it inside a water solution or just dip it inside a small water bath for some 4 to 5 hours or sometimes overnight. We come and then after that, all this water soluble material gets dissolved and we get the required shape. So the process remains same, but here if you can see, there is a small hollow structure which had to be obtained. So now what we are going to do is, of course, like if you are talking about single extrusion process, even here we can do these kinds of geometrical parts, but we will have to remove those supports. We will have to remove these supports manually. Means we will have to use some tools to remove those supports on our own. But we also have a process where two extruders can do the printing. One extruder actually prints the model material. One extruder actually prints the support material. And once the entire printing is done, we put it inside water and all the unwanted material gets dissolved. So here the red material is something which is used as a support, so that once the entire printing is done, we can either remove this red material through using any tools and it will easily come off. And suppose if the model is complicated, we cannot remove it through any tools, we can just dip it inside any water solution so that the material gets dissolved. So here is one example related to that. Okay, so here what we saw was two materials are getting printed simultaneously. So the black material is actually an ABS plastic. This white material is actually water soluble material. So once the printing is happening, so two nozzles operate simultaneously. It prints one layer of model. At the same time, it also prints the one layer of support. the bed moves down. It prints the second layer of model, second layer of support, bed moves down. It prints the third layer of model. So in the same way, it completes the entire process. So now this model is simple enough so that I can just remove it through my hands. I can just use some force and remove this support material, or I can just put it inside a water tub so that this material gets dissolved and I get the actual required part. Now, this was a simple part, we can agree, but if you are talking about a complex geometry, something like this as a fishing reels. So as I said, these are the two nozzles. First nozzle actually prints the model. Second nozzle actually prints the support. So the first image what we are seeing is the image after we have done the slicing in our software. And then this middle image is the part which is 3D printed. So now I cannot use any tools to remove these materials. It might be very difficult, or it will not be easy for me to get the exact shape or the exact thing, or I will not be able to reach throughout the circle using any kind of tool. But instead, I can just put it inside a water solution and all the white material gets dissolved and I will get a part something like this. So this dual extrusion process is making sure that we are able to these extruder motors are making sure that we can get any kind of complex geometries. Okay, we have a question related to extruder motor. Okay, no, both the extruders will be having different motors, because we cannot have one motor drive throughout, because the reason would be like the extrusion plays a very major role in where the first extrusion is happening, the second extrusion has to be on an idle condition. So here what we are going to implement is like we are going to have a sliding movement. So the motor, even though it's of like one single motor is going to operate, so there will be a sliding movement just to make sure that when the model is extruding, the support material will not be in contact with the gears. So here, even though we are having only one motor, so the gears will be differentiated with the sliding motion. So after the model material is extruded, we have a little bit of sliding movement so that the gear gets detached from the model and it gets attached to the support gear, and then the support material comes down. So finally, when we come to the application stage, where the applications are like, as I said, even in the beginning, we do not have any particular industry or we do not have any particular segment where this can be concentrated on. This can be effective for each and every organization. In general, if we see, this is generally used for concept models. Concept models are something like even before any of the model is obtained or even before any of the model is extracted, we just want to see how the model looks like. So we can go for that. Or sometimes we can use it for functional prototyping. It means that the product is almost ready, but we have to wait for 1 or 2 weeks to get the actual part machined or actual part manufactured somewhere else. In that meantime, we can actually 3D print the component, fit it in the equipment, and see the functional testing of it, and see how it actually performs, and see once the testing is done, what will be the next stage. We can calculate on all these things. Or it can be even for manufacturing tools. Manufacturing tools would be something like as a jigs and fixtures applications, or something which can be used as like a marking jig, or even like a CMM inspection jig. Or sometimes, let's say the requirement is like less than 10 numbers, I can directly 3D print it and use it as my end product. So for example, in this FDM technology, we have got materials which are completely certified by aerospace industries, which means that as soon as the part is printed in a particular machine, in a particular material, it can directly be used inside the aeroplanes. For example, Airbus, Singapore Airlines, China Eastern Airlines have already implemented this process where, for example, we just share a few case studies, but 3D printed parts are directly being used. So coming to the application segment, even here, the application remains very vast. It might be for automotive and aerospace industries, or it might be even for packaging industry, or it might be for production line. So production line is somewhere what we are talking about in the assembly stage, or it can be even for bridge manufacturing. So bridge manufacturing is something like, as we know that before manufacturing any product, what every company does is like they do some 500 numbers or maybe some 200 numbers of those particular products, and then they give it to the experts or they give it to their marketing team to do the analysis, just to make sure that this product will be a success in their or in their business, or it might be even be used for like marketing applications. So bridge manufacturing is something where before manufacturing it in lakhs, the company does manufacturing in few hundreds. So these parts, these 3D printers can be used for doing that manufacturing in a lesser time, or it can be even used for prototyping business, or we can directly print rubber-based materials. We can directly print materials which are food grade, which are like biodegradable, or which are like even medical safe. We can print materials. We can print parts for architecture or consumer electronics, or it can be implemented in a very large segment, even in the education industry. So I will start with the industrial case studies. So I think we are on schedule, so we should be able to finish it in next 20-25 minutes. So the industrial cases which I'll be sharing are something related to like to an extent where this 3D printed, like an extrusion based printed parts can go for. And of course, like we are not getting or we are not discussing in a stage where is extrusion based printer technology the better than the other technological process, because every technology has got its own pros and cons. Because the applications what I am showing today, what I'll be showing today are such applications which are possible only with these technologies. And of course, when you are talking about metal or when you're talking about SLS, so there are few applications which can be possible only with that technologies. So the technological wise, we have got very different segments. So in today's presentation, we will keep it limited to the applications only for the extrusion based process, which is for FDM. So we got one example for United Launch Alliance. So United Launch Alliance are like, they are individual organizations who actually launches rockets for NASA and US Air Force. So we have got two case studies from them. So first example would be like before launching of every product, they have to do the screwing of the bolts. It's a very simple process where the nut and bolts has to be screwed in. But the problem was they will have to screw it in a particular angle. They have to screw it at an angle of like, let's say around 60 degrees. And then after a particular length, they will have to come up to 45 degrees. And then after a particular length, they'll have to come up to like 73 degrees. So this is a kind of challenge when we are talking about a diameter which is almost close to 60 to 100 inches. So what they have done was like they actually 3D printed a small scale. So we charred few holes in it. So now you can see in the image where the tool is used for marking purpose, and then they were able to easily do the marking at different angles. So that it helped them in a lot in like when reducing the time frame for this drilling of holes, and in order to get these holes at a much precise location. Of course, like in earlier process, they might be just using on an approximate scale range, or they might be just using a metallic fixture which was weighing somewhere close to around like 3 to 4 kgs. So a person had to handle it in one hand and then do the marking. So since it was of a metal, there was huge chance that it would damage the main component. But once it was replaced to plastic, it became a huge advantage to them. Or the second advantage would be like replacement of like metallic parts to plastic. So this is one thing which every industry is looking into. Now, even if we as an individual, if we look at our surroundings, so we would realize that, okay, there are few components in our surroundings which are of metal. It could have been of plastic. It is of no need to be of a metal. But what these companies are doing is like, for example, there was a part which was actually made out of 140 different components. So each screw, each nut, each bolt acts as a one component. So now let's imagine during the launching of a rocket, now there are 140 parts in a small block. So the amount of vibration is going to cause, and the amount of load or the amount of weight is going to be, it's very huge. And the requirement of this product was in such a way that it just had to pass some cold fumes. So there was no need that you had to have a metallic part which was weighing somewhere close to around like more than 15 to 20 kgs. Instead, you can replace it with a 3D printed plastic part, which is of less than 16 parts. And then the weight is like less than 1 to 2 kgs. So we are bringing down the weight by almost close to 90%. And then the production cost was also reduced. So when any product can save us both time and cost, we consider it as a huge advantage. So now we can see an example where 3D printers are being used for replacing of metallic components with the plastic component. And this material is such a way that this material can withstand temperature of around 150 degrees temperature. So this material is more than sufficient for being used in particular applications. So we also got an applications where the entire UAV drone was 3D printed. So this UAV drone was printed with a material which can withstand about 200 degree temperature. So here, instead of manufacturing it using the traditional process, which it should have costed them too much of cost, or it should have been like too lengthy process, they just 3D printed the entire model. And once the entire model is 3D printed, they just fitted in the components. So just to be like pure, like the engine that was fitted in inside, even that was 3D printed engine, but that was done through metal 3D printers. But if we're talking about the extrusion process, the entire UAV or the entire drone, what you see is completely 3D printed. It was printed in 3 different segments and then joined together. But this entire process was like completely 3D printed with this particular material. So now this talks a lot about the extrusion based materials. So here we are talking about a material which can withstand up to 200 degree temperature, which can withstand a wind speed of somewhere close to around like 10,000 psi, which none of the other materials would have done. Or if you are going through even metal, so it would have been like too much of heavy part. And if you are going through carbon fiber or glass fiber, so we had to implement a separate tool for that. But when your requirement is like just 1 or 2 numbers, if you are going for the same traditional process, it would be like too much of time consumption and too much of amount required. Or it might be for a simple applications like you want to study, or you would be very much interested in like building up of your own UAV drone. So the drone what you're seeing in the image is capable of suspending weight of over 60 kgs. So now in reality, if you see that entire drone itself weighs less than around 2 to 3 kgs, but it will be able to suspend a weight of around 60 kgs. And the entire drone was completed within a time span of 14 hours. So in reality, like if I start my work today, by tomorrow morning, the entire drone was ready with all the electrical fittings, everything included. So now if I get a task today, I start the print in the afternoon. By tomorrow morning, if I'm getting an actual output out of it, so it means that I'm going to get a huge profit from it. And then maybe the next day I can do the testing. I can do some slight alteration. I can once again design the file. I can once again 3D print it. And within the next day, I can have the model ready. So this is how industries are actually developing new products. So just if you might have like just given a wild guess. So earlier it was taking around more than a year for every company to come up with a new product. But right now, every company is coming up with a new product within less than 3 to 4 months. So 3D printing is playing a very major role in that segment, because the amount required for manufacturing remains the same, whether it is a 2-wheeler or 4-wheeler. The amount required for the complete assembly line remains the same. The amount required for designing of a model remains the same. But the time which can be reduced is the designing, finalization, and the model visualization. That is a very major role, because once the design is ready, earlier they had to wait for 1 or 2 months in order to see how the model would look like, because it has to be manufactured somewhere else. But right now, imagine a case where as soon as the model is designed, they 3D print the part, they see how the model looks like within 1 or 2 days, they come up with new design, they do the design changes. So the time frame of like where they had to wait for 3 to 4 months just for design verification is now done within a span of less than 1 month. And then the next process where they go for fitment, all those things, where it used to take 2 months of time, it is being done in less than 15 days. So, which in reality is going to shrink the time frame by almost more than 50%. So this is one major aspect where 3D printing is being used for shrinkage of the time frame. and in turn, it will also make the product come out very faster, which is directly related to the cost point. So here is an example from Airbus where you can see in the image in the bottom. So there are few golden parts, golden looking 3D printed parts. So this here is a 3D printed part which is 3D printed from Ultem 9085 material, and the 3D printed part is directly fitted inside the Airbus A350, which means that this is just acting like a casing for holding of these wires and holding of these LAN cables. Earlier, it used to be of some other material, some other component, but now let's imagine like they want to replace one of these components. So the Airbus manufacturers cannot actually order for one numbers. They have to order for somewhere close to around like 1,000 numbers. But in reality, the requirement is like only 2 to 3. But still, they have to order for 1,000 numbers because that will be the minimum requirement or a minimum commitment between the tier 1 supplier and the Airbus. But now, that's not the case. Suppose if customers require only 1 or 2 numbers, they can directly 3D print that 1 or 2 components and then fit it inside the airplane. So there are actually 3D printers which are like approved from the aerospace division where the parts 3D printed from those particular equipments can directly be used inside the space. Or we can see example of a NASA where they are actually 3D printed using a material which is having these EST properties. So EST properties in a sense like electrostatic properties. So it's a case like, for example, imagine if we touch, in some cases, whenever we touch any door locks or we touch any wires or we touch any chairs, we get some shock sensation in our fingers. So that should not affect the electrical connection. So that is the major point why every electronic industries will be wearing an apron or will be taking care of lot of other considerations. So now when you are manufacturing any component, we need to have an enclosure for that. So now let's imagine this black color part, what you're seeing on the screen is actually a 3D printed part. So what NASA did was like that to give an enclosure. So instead of going for the traditional way, they went with this material, which is actually EST safe. So this material was completely used as an enclosure. It was packed apart and then it was used for their end application. And it performed significantly well. So here we're talking about an applications where the materials, there are materials which are available which can actually replace the traditional process altogether. Or we're talking about the fact where we can start from a simple concept stage and it can come up with the most attractive designs, or we can come up with, or we can start with simple non-dimensional design to come up with the world's fastest drone kind of facility. So lot of changes can be done when we are talking about the way 3D printing can be implemented in different industries. So we are talking about in the automotive segments. So using this process we discussed before, like there will be a model material which is of plastic. There will also be a support material which will be water soluble. So now let's imagine we have a requirement of making a complex geometrical parts. We actually 3D print the entire part with a water soluble material, and then we put some wrapping on top of it, and then we dissolve the entire material. So we actually get the required shape. So one of the companies used the same concept, and they were able to come up with a process where they used to get the same part manufactured in 4 to 6 weeks. In case of 3D printing, they got the same product in a span of less than 1 week. So for a racing or company where they are in a very much time frame, where if you can reduce them around 5 weeks of time, it's a very huge profit. And this is one of the applications from four-wheelers. Like for example, this might come into even our Indian market in some next 1 or 2 years. Like for example, whenever we buy any new car, so the front bonnet, so we can actually choose the kind of design we require on the bonnet. Because right now what's going to happen is we are going to get a very flat surface. Maybe after some 1 or 2 years, even in India, we can just tell them like, okay, I need a kind of pointy surface, or maybe I need a kind of my name written on top of it. So all these versions can be coming up. So recently, it's like Daihatsu done the similar project in Korea and in Japan. So maybe down the line, even in India, we might get the same application. Of course, it will not play a very major role, but imagine it will be something like a customized. So as soon as you book your vehicle, you can just tell them that, okay, instead of front panel being a very flat or very smooth surface, I want the design to be something like this or maybe something like this. So I can select based on my requirement. So this is one applications where customized products can be done through 3D printers. Or of course, this is one of the example for common example which is used for like design verification, model making. So this is one of the example of a helmet that is being designed. So how they have considered different options and come out with the most good looking design. Or example would be like, this is actually an example from Germany, but if you consider an example of our like metro, so imagine like on the front of the metro where there was a housing cover. So that housing cover had to be like replaced, or they came up with a new tram where the housing cover has to be developed. But the problem was like they had come up with only 8 numbers of trams. So just for 8 quantities, if they want to manufacture a tool, it's going to take a lot of cost. At the same time, it's going to consume a lot of time. But imagine a case where you can directly 3D print that 8 covers and just install it in the required places. You don't have to worry about any of the things because the 3D printed parts will do the same job as that of the traditional parts. And then you don't have to invest your cost in tool making. You don't have to invest your cost in other processes. So the company did the similar process and they were very much effective in that. So they 3D printed entire housing cover, and that housing cover was attached to the trams, and then it ran without any issue. So similarly, if you are talking about any applications, like for example, we have to replace any one component in one of the segments, so we can directly 3D print it and it can be replaced because right now we have got plastics which are as strong as even metals. Of course, it cannot be used for a very long run, but for a short term of time, so that we come up with any alternative solutions, and then we do not have to keep the machine in idle state for that particular time frame. So this is an example for a four-wheeler vehicle. This is actually for one of the competition where Mercedes had to come up with a new kind of design. Now let's imagine like the time frame for this was like less than 40 days. So of course they had designers who designed a product within required time frame. But in order to get the parts manufactured within the time frame was not an easy task because manufacturing of any product would require more than 2 to 3 months. But here we are talking about time frame of less than 1 month. So what that was like, he completely 3D printed the body. So and then the body was completely finished, sliced, painted, and then this what the vehicle what you see over here is completely 3D printed. So if you go to any automotive expo, or if you go to any launching of any new products or any new vehicles or any new consumer goods, for example, so models what we see or models what we visualize, right? So it might not be an actual end product. It might be something like this, where they have 3D printed the side cover, painted it, and then just fixed it just for us to see how it looks like. Maybe after the expo, they get few suggestions telling that you have to change the design because it's not effective, it's not so good looking. Or maybe after the expo, if everybody comes up with a positive reply, they will proceed with the same design. So this is one of the major things which every organization is being implementing right now, not just in the automotive segments, even in consumer electronics. Like for example, if you are discussing or seeing any consumer goods product, so it might not be a complete working case study. It could be something like an only aesthetic looks, because nowadays aesthetic plays a very important role. Let's imagine, like for example, if somebody is coming up with a new water cooler, so they can easily like 3D print the entire thing, paint it, and then just place it in some location for us to see how it actually looks like. Or it might be for classic car restoration, so where all the old cars can be replicated, scanned, and then it can be placed at a very small, like a miniature model, Or maybe during the designing stage, they can actually plan something like this where they can see how only the internal looks like, because the external design will be designed from some other team, but the team which is actually designing the batteries, the equipments, so even they can design how actually the placing will happen, how much place is required, so even that can be planned with. Or it can be even for like production stage, like for example, if you see over here, it's just used as an inspection jig where the mod, this is actually the end product. Here the end product is being placed on a particular location just to make sure that it fits in exactly. Suppose if the fitment is not happening as per the requirement, they can say that this model will not fit even in the final part. So this is a rejected model. Because if you see in the industry, what's going to happen is we cannot take all the 100 models and do the scanning. It's highly impossible. What they usually do is like they pick any file and then they do the scanning of that. Of course, like it always works because it has been in that way from a very long time. But imagine a case where you do the scanning of the 5 parts, but for the remaining 85 parts, we can at least place it in such a component and see whether it fits in all the direction. If it is fitting in all the direction, which means that it will also fit in our end part. So even here, it's an example where a complete assembly line, like for example, let's imagine during manufacturing of any product, we require a complete base. And if the base is made out of wood or if the base is made out of metal, it will be too heavy. So let's say that heavy will be like around 30 to 40 kg. So we will require 2 to 3 people to handle it, or we will require some robots, or we require some crane support to just move it from one location to another location. But imagine if we have completely transformed that entire metallic parts with the plastic. So what's going to happen is we can easily move around those plastic fixtures from one place to other. So Solaxis has done the same thing where the entire part what you see over here, earlier it used to weigh around like 150 pounds. Now they have brought down the scale to like less than like on 20-30 pounds so that one person can easily carry around that. So here we have an example for attaching of the logos. So usually when we say attaching of the logos, majority of the companies will do it like only just by visualization. Some companies will do it by making use of some paper clip. But imagine like we have a dedicated tool so that just to make sure that the distance between the logo from one corner to other corner should be around 2 mm. The distance between the bottom to the logo should be around like 10 mm. So if they can make a small fixture, something like this, they can just place it around in the right hands and then in the left hand they can attach the logo. So it will not be such a huge thing, but once we say that entire model is done, once we see there are like 1,000 vehicles parked, all the logo will look exactly at the same place. So that will play a very major role for many of the organizations. So these 3D printed tools can be used for those applications or directly for the attachment of the logo. So BMW has used the similar process for attaching of their logos. So earlier it used to be of metals. So as we know in metals, we have got huge problems when we are attaching it, because as soon as the metal touches the car surface, there are chances that it will make some scratches or it will make some dent in the surface. So if we are using a plastic part with some rubber gloves on it, so it will make sure that it will not provide any scratch on the surface and it will be like completely smooth workflow. So here BMW was able to cut the weight by around 72%, which means that if earlier the weight was around 10 kg, it was replaced with a part which is of like less than 3 kgs, and given the cost. So the cost implies that directly on the lead time, which means that when they were using the metallic one employee would used to take somewhere close to around 10 minutes just to give one logo, because he had to take care of too many things like the scratches, the thinkers, bumpers, or like dumps on the wall. So he had to consider many agendas and he had to make sure that the logo is attached in a perfect manner. So imagine he used to take somewhere close to around like 5 to 10 minutes for attaching of one logo. But with the help of this plastic one, the time which was taking around 10 minutes, he was able to do it within a span of like 1 minute, which means that they reduced the lead time by around 92%. So it might be a very simple topics, but these applications are playing a very major role in different industries. So these are other few applications related to the industrial basis where the fixtures which can be used directly for drilling applications, or the fixtures which can be used for like handling of the components, fixtures which can be used during CMM inspections, fixtures which can be used for like electronic applications, or this is one of the similar applications which we discussed in the first study, where they are using it for marking on their curvy surface. So here this is a 3D printed part which is having the same curvy surface, so that they are placed it in a particular location, and then the drilling will be done inside these holes, so that they can be 100% sure that the hole direction is as per the requirement, so that they don't have to worry that the hole, because sometimes what happens, the drilling has to be done at an angle, let's say an angle of around 20 degrees. So a person drilling it manually will never be able to achieve it manually just by making 20 degrees angle. So what, with the help of this, you can be 100% sure that the angles will be exactly as per the requirement, because the drill bit is almost like this 10-20 mm length will make sure that the drill bit actually gets inserted in the particular direction. Or it can be used for like an enclosure applications where the part is being used, where the electronic gadgets can be completely enclosed within their product. Or it can be used for a huge cost reduction. The metallic parts which used to take somewhere around like $60,000 can be made within $2,500. And if you look at the time frame, which is 10 to 14 weeks, it comes down to like, let's say, even if you say 48 hours, it's less than 2 days. So here we are talking about somewhere which is 3 to 4 months, which is like around 2 days. So we can see the kind of difference what we are talking about. So we are talking about a difference of 3 to 4 months to 2 days. We're talking about a difference from $60,000 to $2,500. And also in terms of weight, which was around 150 pounds, it came down to around 15 pounds. So there's a huge difference when we're talking about 3D printers and the traditional way of manufacturing. And of course, extrusion process, because of the materials which comes in this technology, because of the ease of implementation of this technology, because we do not require any sophisticated working environment. It can directly be placed next to us in our working station, or even in our classrooms, or even in our departments, and we can easily operate this. Is of the same example. Or we can use it even for applications which are related to bending of the metallic parts, or bending of the plastic components, vacuum forming, hydroforming, thermoforming. So there are numerous applications which are related to 3D printers. So every industry, it may not directly lead to their manufacturing, because some industries will use it for their design verification. Some industries will use it for some other applications, which is like it may not be a direct part of their manufacturing process, but as a helping hand. So here, this 3D printed part is being used as a gripper. So imagine a small robotic arm gripper which was of metal, which was weighing around. So we have a example here. So we had this part was of metal, which used to weigh around like almost 16 kgs. So now that 16 kg, when we 3D printed it, came down to like around 1.4 kg. So you can just imagine the kind of difference in terms of weight, and also in terms of cost. When they had the in-house CNC machining, it used to take 20 days, but here it was done within 3 days. So there is a huge difference of like 17 days of time and 14.5 kgs of weight. So 3D printers are playing a very major role in both reduction of cost and reduction of weight and reduction of time, which in terms is directly going to implement on the cost factor. Now, for example, imagine like within 3 days, if they're able to make one component, in the span of 20 days, where they were able to make only one, now they'll be able to make almost close to 7. It means that the efficiency of their production is going to increase a lot. And in case of aerospace industries, they don't have to store everything, because sometimes what happens, the inventory storage will be so much that we'll be having some 5 to 10 warehouses completely stored with the equipment, which we do not know when we require. But imagine after some 5-10 years, we come to a stage where only when the part is required, we directly print it and then we take it out. So this complete inventory is not at all required. So there is no need or we have to store the parts inside our warehouse. Because sometimes what happens is, let's imagine like the parts are being stored in US and now the part is required in somewhere in India. So what happens? The flight will be in standby in India. The part has to be sent from US to India. So earlier they had invested so much of money to transport that part from Germany to US. Yeah, they had paid a particular amount, and then they had stored it in their US facility for some 2 years of time, where they had spent so much of money for storage. Now it is being sent from US to India, where it's once again the transportation cost is involved. With all these costs involved, the customer can easily make a component in the Indian market, 3D print the component in India, maybe at 10 times the lesser cost. So this is how every industry is trying to adopt to 3D printers. So major application would be saving of both time and cost, where 4 months will be reduced to 3 days, $60,000 will be reduced to $3,000, and number of components. So here we are talking about a metallic component which had around 28 different components, where it is replaced to a component which is of only 2. And of course, this is lifting of a weight which is of around like 650 kgs. So a 3D printed part lifting 650 kgs, it's a very huge thing. So at last, I would like to say, so with the help of 3D printers or with the help of this extrusion-based printers, what we are going to implement or what we are going to prove is 3D printers will be a better fit when we can reduce the time, when we can reduce the cost, and when we are able to reduce the number of components. It will directly affect to our business plan or will directly help us in more profit. So with this, I like to end my session. So thank you, Ann. So if you have any questions related to this, then kindly let me know. And I also have our business executive, Mr. Lingraj's contact details. So you can even contact him. So we have specialized drillers for both the technologies, like the single extrusion and dual extrusions with many materials option. So if you would like to know more regarding that, you can always get in touch with us. Thank you. Any questions if I can see?
Hello. Sir, is it audible?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have a question in the chat box. It says, is possible to fabricate product having internal holes using FDM, which requires support material which are difficult to wash out?
Yeah, sure. When we are saying internal holes, so I'll give you 2 examples. Like when we are using dual extrusion printers, it means extrusion with 2 nozzles. Like for example, in the screen, if you can see the 3rd and 4th image. So here in the 4th image, if you can see, there is actually one black material and there's also a white material. So this white material is water soluble. So even in case of internal holes, so where we are talking about complete water soluble material, it can be completely washed out. Even if there's a slight opening that is provided, it will be sufficient, because the support material which are used will be of PVA grade. So it will make sure that the support material gets itself dissolved into water. But if you are using a single extrusion, then it might be a difficult process to remove the internal supports, in the internal holes.
One more question, sir. What
Yeah.
about research scope of effects in 3D printed parts with image processing?
Okay, so I think here we are talking about medical applications, if I'm not wrong. So see, now if you're talking about the medical applications where we have something called like DICOM software, where we can actually convert the scanned image of MRI or scanned image of CT scan data using a DICOM software. Those data can be converted into a STL data. So now let's imagine a case where we go to a scanning center and we get our brain scan or we get our hand scan, so that we get a data. Usually what happens, we get a X-ray out of it. We can also ask for the files, the 3D files for that. So, but the files what they provide us will not be of a 3D printable format. We will have to convert that image processing into a 3D data, which means that the DICOM software has to be converted into a 3D printable data. And once we convert it, so that model we can directly implement. So I did not cover those topics here because I believe like on fourth you have a complete session dedicated to medical, so I have just left it out. But if you would like to know more related to that, you can get in touch with us, sir. We will definitely help you out. Yes, ma'am. Next question.
So there is a question that is like, what is the scope of 3D printing as a startup? Please give some examples with probable expenses.
Okay. See, when we're talking about startup for 3D printers, so we'll have to consider a lot of segments because you see, 3D printers, as I said, it can be catered into any industries. So suppose if somebody says, I will start a startup which is concentrated to automotive, of course, at any point of time, we can also extend the scope to even aerospace applications or medical applications or even to consumer goods applications. But in order to start with, I would say that you would need to have a strong like baseline to draw where which industry you are going to focus on, so that at least for the initial 1 or 2 years you will have to be completely dedicated to that industry. Second thing is you will definitely have to build a lot of uh, connections with the industrial people, because only then it's going to work. Because usually what is the situation in India is that we have got more than 100 different companies who actually are into this business. So of course there is a huge scope of 3D printers in startup, but we will have to be sure that which industry we are going to focus and what product we are going to focus on. Because if you are just going to open a hub and tell that we are going to cater into all the industries, we cannot concentrate on any of them for full time. So I would say we'll have to be very concentrated on one particular segment, one particular industry, and concentrate in that segment. And cost point, if you are asking, I think for a complete setup from the printer point to the complete organization setup, it can be done within a span of like around 3 to 4 lakhs, I believe.
So one more question. Is it possible to use natural rubber composites by 3D printing? Because synthetic is already there.
Okay, see, when you're talking about natural fiber composites, right? So usually what happens, especially when we are talking about extrusion based process, we have to consider the fact of crystallinity of the material. It might be whether the material is amorphous in nature or semi-crystalline, or is it completely crystalline in nature. If the model is completely crystalline, so what happens is there is a huge chance that the material will get stuck in the nozzle itself. So fiber is one of such components where the crystallinity is very high. So we have got few companies who are dedicated into like the fiber composites. But when we are talking about natural fiber components, we are not into like 100% fiber. So what we are going to do is like we are going to mix the chopped carbon fiber or the chopped fiber into the plastic components, so that the covering of the material will completely be of plastic, and inside that small wire there will be this chopped fiber materials. And as of now, natural fiber composites, it's not for 100% what we can print, but we have come to a stage where we can print like 70% fiber with 30% of other mixed plastic materials.
One more question is that what is the scope of 3D printing in bulk production?
Okay, so in case of bulk production, of course, like in extrusion-based printing, we have a limitations, but we have a process like, for example, SLS, where it's actually a powder-based process. Now, let's imagine you want a small bottle cap, a water bottle cap, and you have to produce somewhere around like 10,000 of that. So in extrusion-based process, I would say it's not a better option. But in case of SLS or even in case of SLA process, I would say we can definitely try it. In case of SLS, even for 10,000 bottles, I would say the scope is completely dependent upon where we'll have to compare. Like in case of 3D, obviously, we'll have to see what is the price line, because in 3D printing, if cost printing for one product is going to cost us 10 rupees, cost for 100 will be 100 into 10. It's not going to reduce as the number of product increases. But in case of traditional, we all know that if the number of quantity increases, the price comes down naturally. So because in case of injection molding, we're talking about bottle cap price will be less than 2 paise per cap. In case of 3D, we are talking about 10 rupees. But we will have to see an example where what is the bulk number we are looking about, whether it's 1,000, whether it's 5,000, or whether it's 50,000. So based on that, we will have to do our calculation, like which will be like more profitable in terms of cost, in terms of time. So for now, I can say the time required for making of a tool and going for injection process and getting the parts done, it might take somewhere close to around 2 to 3 months. But in case of SLS 3D printing, we can get it done within 15 days. But we'll have to definitely consider about the price range. But as I said, as the industry is progressing, there are a lot of research work that are being done even on this bulk production stage, where the mass production is getting like one of the major topics. I'm sure like maybe in down the line, we'll be able to get it done.
And one more question is that can we print a single model partially 20% fill dentistry and remaining with 50% fill dentistry in one attempt?
Okay. So actually, this is one of the topics where a lot of research has been done. So what we used to do was like where we can actually alter the number of boundary lines, so all those segments. So if you are talking about, like, for example, from Stratasys, we have a dedicated software called as Insight. So in that software, we have the possibilities of altering, of changing the infill density from each layer. So from first 20 layers, we can make it as 20% infill. For the remaining, we can make it 40%. And then for the top 20 layers, we can make it complete solid. So yes, that option is available. So of course, maybe in the majority of the free softwares, this option might not be still available. But if you are going for dedicated softwares, like for example, many companies have their own softwares. For example, MegaBoard, we have MegaBoard Print. For Stratasys, we have like GrabCAD and the and Insight. So in some of the softwares, this option is possible.
And the next question is, which materials can be FDM printed? How composites can be printed by FDM?
See, in case of FDM printing, I think we saw one of the slides, like materials like ABS, ASA, nylon, polycarbonate, and even materials like Ultem, PEI. So let's say that materials which are amorphous in nature or materials which are semi-crystalline in nature can be 3D printed. So for now, I would say there are around 20 to 30 different plastic materials that can be printed. And there is also chance that you can develop your own plastic material, and we can even try printing with that. So many organizations have been very successful in that, because where they wanted to use their own filaments. So printing of composites, when we are talking, like of course, during the manufacturing stage itself, the composite material has to be like developed. Like for example, let's consider example of PC ABS, like polycarbonate and ABS is mixed together, and then it is drawn out as a single wire, and then that wire is next printed. So the composites will have to be developed before the printing stage itself, means the wire has to be manufactured.
Yeah, the next question is, can you give some examples for such slicing softwares?
Yeah, okay. So when you're talking about slicing softwares, like as I said, like different when you're talking about any organizations who have got their printers well built, have their dedicated softwares. For example, from MakerBoard, we have MakerBoard Print. From Stratasys, we have GrabCAD. So if you're talking about the general softwares, it might be like Cura, so or Slicer 3D. So Cura or Slicer 3D will be one of the softwares which we would say implement, and then you can use it. And even the MakerBoard Print software, even that is of a free software. It will just help you in like learning how the software is actually done. So as I said, like we could not be able to give more information, but like my mail ID is displayed, so you can anytime get in touch with us so that we can share more related document related to this.
The next question is, if we compare FDM and injection molding technique in terms of surface roughness, then it is possible with FDM technique to achieve better surface roughness.
Okay, see, we're talking in a general term, the answer is no, because in injection molding, the surface finish what we get is completely smooth surface. In terms of FDM, the surface what we get will be lined surface. We'll be having a lot of lines in it. But of course, when you're talking about ABS material, what we will do is like, we can treat ABS material with acetone vapors so that the material or the 3D printed part will become almost as smooth as injection molded part. So we have got many examples where we have 3D printed a complete helmet, or we have 3D printed a complete handle. It is being submitted to acetone treatment, and then the part has become completely smooth enough. But in general, if you are speaking, we don't have any technology in 3D printers which can give us a almost close finish to injection molded part directly from the printer itself. We will have to do some kind of post processing, like we'll have to do some kind of buffing, or we'll have to apply some kind of lacquer. Only then we can get a smooth surface finish. So not just FDM, even with any other process, it will not be possible to achieve the same surface finish as injection molding.
And the next question is, how surface finish is controlled?
In terms of FDM, we can control the surface finish by changing the layer heights. Like for example, sometimes if we want the surface finish to be very good, we can select a layer height of 0.1 mm so that we can get the best finish possible. And suppose sometimes if we want only the part at a much faster rate and we do not concentrate on the surface finish, we can also choose 0.4 mm layer height. The difference would be in 0.4 mm layer height, we will get a part within 2 hours. In case of 0.1 mm layer height, the time may be more than 6 to 7 hours. But we will have to compromise on the timing in order to get a better surface finish.
And the next question is, what is support material used?
Okay, the support material which can be used are like, generally we use support material called as PVA. So it's a polyvinyl acetate. So it's a water soluble support. It will be in the kind of plastic, but once the printing is done, once we dip it inside the water, it will have some particular reaction with the plain water, and then it gets completely dissolved. So of course, from other companies, we also have different brands called as like SR30. We have support material called as PVIA, but the most commonly used support material will be PVA.
Yeah, I think there are only those many questions, sir. There are no new questions. No, there's again one new question, like how do we use it? I think it is related to support material.
Okay. So see, use it in the sense like in the printer, we'll be having 2 extruders. So the first extruder will be loaded with model material. The second extruder will be loaded with this support material. And using any of the slicing softwares, we'll be doing the slicing stage. Once the slicing is done, the program will be generated in such a way that the model material will be printed wherever the model is required. The support material will be printed wherever the support is required. So, and then we just remove it.
And can we use support materials with single extrusion printer?
No, with single extrusion printer it won't be possible because usually what happens, right? In single extrusion printer, the same model material will be used as support material. So in single extrusion printer, we will have to use some tools to remove the supports. Like for example, once the entire printing is done, you will have to shake, either try it with our bare hands or take some sharp tools and try removing the support material. And of course, the software will make sure that the bonding between the model and support will be very delicate so that it can be removed easily almost 90% of the times.
The next question is there software for designing support?
Yeah, there are some softwares which can be used because usually what happens, these supports will be generated automatically. Like for example, if you're talking about general softwares like Cura or Simplified 3D, so these supports will be designed automatically. But if you are going for a dedicated softwares from any particular companies, like even like Insight, we can even design these supports manually. Like we can give these supports as single line supports or dual line support. We can change the density of these supports. We can make sure that the support is very thin line, or we can make sure that the support is very solid support. So we can change the supports. Yeah.
The next question is, can you please provide, oh, sorry, this is for us. Sometimes I see support materials used using single extruder.
Yeah, support materials in the sense like the same model material will be used as a support material. So it is not a water soluble material. Suppose imagine if you are using ABS material as a single extrusion or PLA material, that same PLA material will be used in the supports.
Yeah, I think only those many questions so far.
Yeah, no.
Participants, do you have any other questions? Please raise in chat box.
I think it was a very interactive session. So suppose if you would like to know any further details about this process or anything, you can always get in touch with us. So we'll be happy to share few information on related things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On behalf of organizers, I would like to thank you, sir, for your precious time and for considering our invitation to deliver this talk. All these industry cases helped us a lot to know more like what exactly is going in 3D printing. I think it would help the research scholars more than compared to our faculties. So I really thank you for your time.
Yeah, sure. And then, as I said, like any further doubts, they can always get in touch with me. No problem.
Yeah, sure, sir. We'll also share your email ID to our participants.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.